But I truly believe that we choose our parents, we choose our situations, we are responsible for everything that happens to us, and we are given life's manure. So, what do you do with it? Do you keep it in your house, have it stinking up your life? Or do you throw it on a garden? Do you grow something beautiful? And that's what I chose to do. And so I took everything that happened to me and I used it as fuel to push me to heal. And I will tell you that's not an easy decision to make. It's very difficult to make a conscious choice to heal rather than repeat the pattern. It's so much easier to fall in line. I, at the age of 12, was put into foster care, and I ended up in lockup very shortly after. I was very violent. I stole cars, I ran away, I did a lot of drugs. I basically did not care, and my choices very much reflected that. And throughout my teen years, I spent a good 3 years in combination, totally locked up, and I was with many other broken children in that time. And I quickly realized that we were just hurt kids who were acting out. We just needed these things, we needed something more, and we weren't getting it, and so we were angry. But I also quickly saw how easily they were going to repeat the patterns that their parents laid out before them, and how I was on that similar path. So when I got pregnant, I had to make that choice, not for myself, but for my child, because that was easier at the time. Sometimes it's a lot easier to make those decisions for somebody else than it is for you, but then it leads you on that path back to yourself. And that's what my first child did for me. I have 3 now, and they all are gifts and give me plenty of manure to work with in their own ways. But it's been an amazing journey, and through this, I've been able to develop myself. I've been able to learn who I am, what my principles are, and how to heal, and that's very difficult, especially when you weren't given that example. And so through spiritual learning and self-discovery, and I'm telling you, it's layer after layer, and I think my entire life I will always be doing that, shedding my skin and becoming new again over and over. And it's very much an acceptance of that journey. It's very much an acceptance of this will never be over. I will never be completely healed, but that's the exciting part. So I continue to follow breadcrumbs. That's what I like to call it. It's like I think it was that gingerbread journey, and I'm like, oh, this is a breadcrumb. I'm going to pick that up and see where that brings me. This resonates with me. And that's how I've led myself to where I am. And now I've been working with women specifically, a lot of teens, a lot of women with trauma. Women and trauma seem to go hand in hand everywhere. And so I've been able to use the experience that I've had to be a reflection for others. You know, especially when I'm talking to teens, their attitude, right? They're just like, well, you don't understand. I had this and this and this happen to me. And I say, you know what? I've been through rape, molestation, abandonment, you name it. I've been there, and I'm okay. You can be too. So I get to now be out in the world and be a mirror for all of these people and say, you have a choice. You have a choice to make, and you're the only one responsible for making it. Had I waited around for my mother to show up at my door and say, okay, I'm sorry now, I'm ready to help fix you, I would have waited my entire life. So it took me to step into my power and to find my own way. And now that we have a better relationship than we ever have with my mother. And it's been wonderful because I'm able to give that space and forgive her for who she is and step into my power as who I am. And release her of these expectations, release her of all of the pain that I held on her. And through that, I've been able to be a mirror for her as well. And she is on a healing journey also. And so that's been the greatest gift for me. So it really is about a personal choice. It's about stepping into your power and saying, have I had enough? What am I going to do with this manure? What am I going to do with it? Am I going to grow something beautiful, or am I going to have it stinking up my life? So that's my story. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Shipe Belushi. She is CEO of Your Stage. She is also an international development coach and public speaker.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It is such a blessing to know you and to be here. And I'm privileged to share little I know about what's going on in our journeys. I think my success in this journey, lifetime journey, has been failure. I am so blessed to have failed 1,001 times. So I failed at age 3 to understand why my father died and disappeared overnight at age 27. And the grown-ups looked so stupid. Nobody was able to understand and tell a child what death was. So I failed to understand and rose to be a rebel, age 3. I failed to understand the structures of the conservative families and the family decisions to marry you at 16 because you are a woman and you have to be married. So I failed to understand that, so I ran away from home and of course crossed 3 countries and become an international police, whatever, Interpol search, and then they bring me back and put me into house arrest for a year. I failed to commit suicide, to die after trying at age 16 to commit suicide because life wasn't worth living in a prison. And then I failed to understand the freedom aimlessly without a purpose. And therefore, at age 25, in my dream, I ended up going to USA as a student exchange with $50 in my pocket and 50 words of English. And then it was a journey of transformation from an immigrant to an American. I failed to become American all the time because I have an accent. So each time I say I'm from USA, you say, where are you from? That accent. Anyway, the transformation actually began by learning that failure is not a failure, that it is a success. And at age 25, I had a car accident like Brian did. I was hit by a car, had a out-of-body experience, witnessed everything what happened, and came back to the body, went into coma, and was paralyzed from the waist down. Doctor said I won't walk again. Spent time in the hospital for a year and a half, fighting with God, fighting with doctors, fighting with everybody, and myself well. And force after many surgeries, managed to do a miracle. Miracle happened, and I went onto a wheelchair. Sitting position was a miracle, and walking was another miracle. And it took 6 years to learn and walk and begin to be free of crutches and braces and all that. And so I committed to serve humanity, to serve communities, and to serve God, because I said, okay, if you give me legs, I'll serve you. He gave me legs. I started to work for the people and disadvantaged people. I worked with refugees and immigrants, empowering them, teaching them all the skills, teaching them English. I learned all the ropes, what it takes. For example, when I learned the word exhilarating, I was so exciting about that word. It's so exhilarating. And so I went to a friend's funeral home. The father had died, and I wanted to say my condolences, but what came out was how exhilarating. And the people's faces went like that. And I'm like, what did I say wrong? So things like that happened in my journey. And then the war spread, and Kosovo, I'm from Kosovo originally, an Albanian. The Kosovo went into war from Serbia, attacked by the Serbians. And then I quit my 15-year journalism job and went to rebuild and help people, refugees, reintegrate into Kosovo. And when I went there, I was hit with the cancer. I worked for the US Army as an advisor, cultural advisor, and interpreter. And they discharged me, sent me to the hospital, and there I had a cancer, and it had spread on my lower parts of the body. And after 4 or 5 surgeries, I was discharged and sent home to die. And I came home to die, but I couldn't die. I had enormous debts to pay. I had things to finish up, rents and all that. And so trying to finish things before dying, I ended up going to Afghanistan for 3 weeks workshop. 8 years later, I was still in Afghanistan helping people, helping women rebuild their lives because their suffering made my suffering a lemonade. I forgot to die. I started the healing process. They healed me with their love and care. And then India came on board and they brought me to India. And thanks to Indian healing methods and cleansing and meditation and yoga and name it, they did on my body. And cancer disappeared, got scared of it, and gone. So I have gone through, I worked mostly in the past 12 years in the war zone, witnessing suicide bombings, witnessing deaths, picking up pieces of blown up people and friends that died in front of my eyes. And I had a spirit and help and the courage and the heart to handle the pain that occurs and to hold their hopes and dreams and to manage to cross just one more step, even though there is no hope for tomorrow, like in the case of Syrians in the last year when I went to the camps and there was nothing to give them besides blankets and food, but that was not important. But teaching them to remember their songs and singing, it was what made them cry and say, yes, maybe there is a tomorrow if we don't forget our songs. So this has been my journey, working with people, restoring their truth, their self, making them into leaders of the future, and giving them hope, motivating them and inspiring them to rise, 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 use the failure as lessons, and never, never, never give up hope. So thank you so much, and Brian, you're an inspiration for all of us. So thank you.
I am Katie Jo. I'm known as Katie Jo, Drum Circle Goddess. It was about 2002. It had been a hot summer. And it was magical the way that in the fall in Utah, USA, the leaves were golden and changing. And those beautiful soft storms come in. The ones that are indigo, and they're not cold, but the rain begins to pelt your body. I stood on the front step of my home, and on my hip was my beautiful son. It was blonde with beautiful blue eyes. Little, I could hold him. Almost 2 years old. And as the lightning would hit, and the sky would light up, have you ever seen the lightning that just goes all the way across the clouds? Jonah would say, "Whoa."